So I've been an agent for 18 years, and I've learned some things along the way that I think every good agent should be doing. So whether you're an agent or you're looking for an agent, save this post for referencing later. If you're working with a buyer who's getting financing, don't tour properties unless they're pre-approved. Unless they're paying cash, then that doesn't matter. But otherwise, make sure they're pre-approved first. This is because if they aren't pre-approved and they go look for a home and they fall in love with a home to find out that they can't afford that home, if they've fallen in love with that, it's really hard to get past that hangover. It's also a waste of time for the buyer as well as for the agent. And then you're also putting unnecessarily thrash on the listing because you're having more people go through there. Online mortgage calculators are crap. You want to make sure you get pre-approved with a real lender. Got lots of other videos about this, so check those out. Let me know if you want more. Screenshots of a bank account are not proof of funds. When you're working to put an offer in on something, you sometimes need to show proof of funds. The screenshot on your phone doesn't count. Proof of funds is a bank statement. You can black out your account number. That's a good thing. But you have to be able to show in all pages in the statement. You don't just show one. Has to have your name on it. Has to have all the pages in it. And it has to be able to show the funds that are there. And it has to be enough funds to cover the amount you're promising. For example, if you're paying cash for something and you send in proof of funds, but it's only for 20% of the amount you're purchasing, what are they going to do with that? Because you have to be able to show you can afford the property. Ask your clients more questions than you think you need to. If someone says, oh, I'm okay with a fixer, well, if I have a buyer whose background is in construction and their family's been doing remodeling for years, their concept of a fixer is very different than someone who has never picked up a hammer in their lives, and and they're still going to call it a fixer. So both people are saying fixer, but they're meaning very different things. So you need to ask more questions and find out what is it they're actually talking about. That will help you zero in on what the client is looking for and what they actually mean, and that communication is vital. Communicate! We all darn near wear these things, so answer phone calls, call people back, be clear, make sure you communicate. Read the listing. The listing agent has taken the time to put the information in the listing for the buyer's agent. So read it, because it's there for the buyer's broker's benefit, as well as the description for the buyer's benefit. If it says no pets, don't ask the listing agent what's the pet policy, because it's there already. Did you read the listing? Clearly, you didn't read the listing. It's not that hard. If the listing agent has told you that the seller will not accept whatever it is, don't then expect the seller to accept that, because they've already told you ahead of time it's not going to go. Verbal offers don't count, ever. What I mean by that is it's not binding, it's not a contract, it's not an actual offer. There are conversations between the agents always about, do you think your client would accept this? Do you think they'd do that? These are at the behest and on behalf of the clients, but verbal offers do not count. Prove the connection between the entity and the human. If your buyer is writing an offer in an entity, an LLC, a corporation, etc., they also have to be able to prove the connection between the entity and the human. Entities can't actually sign. It'll always be a human signing on behalf of the entity, but you have to prove that connection. It seems obvious, but I've had people send offers in with an LLC and a human signing it and no other information. The problem is, who says the human is bound to sign that or is bound to perform based on the contract? Nothing does. That could absolutely flip the deal. If all of a sudden the human says, oh, I don't want any part of that, there's no recourse for the seller. It's void. This could delay, possibly blow up a deal. If you're a listing agent, get feedback from the buyer's brokers that show your listings, because it can help you improve your listings in the future. And it can also help inform your seller about how that property is faring in the market. And buyer's brokers, make sure you give the feedback when you're asked for feedback on listings. Be professional. It's a smaller industry than you think. If you're going to take the time to make an appointment, that listing has now been booked for you, show up for it. Or cancel if you can't make it, or reschedule or whatever. But show up for your appointments. Respect the house you're viewing. There may be somebody living there, so be respectful of the space and just treat it better than you would treat your own home. So I know it's a big list, but they are all super important. Let me know if I missed anything in the comments.